After 17 years of peace and plenty in the land of Egypt, the time drew near for Israel to die. The great patriarch who had wrestled with God and man and had prevailed was now frail, and his eyesight had faded. But his spirit and his prophetic vision were sharp as ever. This was not to be an end, but a transfer of legacy, a final divinely inspired shaping of the future. Joseph, hearing his father was ill, took his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, and came to Jacob's bedside. When Jacob was told his favorite son had arrived, he summoned his strength and sat up in bed. "I never thought I would see your face again," Jacob said, his voice weak with age. "And behold, God has let me see your offspring as well." Joseph brought his sons forward. He placed Manasseh, the firstborn, at Jacob's right hand, and Ephraim, the younger, at his left, preparing them to receive their grandfather's blessing. But Jacob, guided by a vision beyond sight, did something extraordinary. He stretched out his right hand and laid it on the head of Ephraim, the younger, and his left hand on the head of Manasseh, crossing his arms intentionally. Joseph saw this and was displeased. He tried to move his father's hands. "Not so, my father," he said, "for this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head." But his father refused. "I know, my son, I know," Jacob insisted. "He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. Nevertheless, his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his offspring shall become a multitude of nations." In this final, poignant act, the life of Jacob came full circle. He, the younger son who had received the blessing over his brother Esau, now knowingly passed that same precedence to the younger son of Joseph, cementing a divine pattern of choosing the unexpected. With the blessing of his grandsons complete, Jacob's focus turned to his own 12 sons. He gathered them together. "Assemble yourselves," he commanded, "that I may tell you what shall happen to you in days to come." What followed was not just a father's farewell, but a prophet's declaration, assigning a character and a destiny to each of the future tribes of Israel. He began with Reuben, his firstborn, his might. But his blessing was a lament. "Unstable as water," Jacob declared, "you shall not have preeminence, because you went up to your father's bed." A past sin had cost him his birthright. Simeon and Levi were rebuked for their fierce anger and violence, a reference to their vengeful massacre at Shechem. Jacob cursed their anger and declared that they would be scattered in Israel. But then he came to Judah, and the tone of the prophecy shifted from judgment to majesty. "Judah, your brothers shall praise you," Jacob proclaimed. "The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him, and to him shall be the obedience of the peoples." This was the great prophecy of the royal line, the promise that the kings of Israel, and in Christian theology, the Messiah himself, would descend from the tribe of Judah. He continued down the line, giving each son a poetic and mysterious destiny. Zebulun would dwell by the sea. Issachar was a strong donkey, bowing his shoulder to bear. Dan, a serpent in the way. Then he came to Joseph, his beloved. The blessing he gave was one of overflowing abundance. He spoke of Joseph as a fruitful bough, one who had endured bitter attacks but whose own bow remained unmoved, his arms made agile by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob. He blessed him with the blessings of heaven above, and of the deep that crouches beneath. Finally, he came to Benjamin, the youngest, blessed as a ravenous wolf, devouring the prey in the morning and dividing the spoil at night. When he had finished blessing his 12 sons, each with a blessing appropriate to him, he gave them his final command. "I am to be gathered to my people," he said. "Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah." There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah. When Jacob finished charging his sons, he drew up his feet into the bed and breathed his last, and was gathered to his people. The long wrestling journey of the patriarch was over. But in his final words, the story of his descendants, the 12 tribes of Israel, had just been given its divine charter.